the psychic gets like the first letter of his name right, how he dresses, how he acts.
Yeah.
And so this guy who's always said no is showing up to the reading to say, yes, go for it. So that was huge, like blew my socks off. I was like,
we were pretty astounded by that she was so accurate.
Aspen Roots.
all right, welcome to another Aspen Roots podcast episode.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here.
I'm your host, Brandon.
And I'm your other host, Sophia.
If you guys are new here, we tell extraordinary spiritual stories using different means of gathering divine guidance to live life and be guided. So we've been wanting to get some of these stories on an episode for a while, and now is the time. We are going to talk today about how Aspen Roots came to be. And if you've been here since our first episode, you'll know we're growing. We had a very manicured style at the beginning. Okay, I'm going to tell this story. We're going to have some sound effects. Sophia's going to tell this story. And we like feedback. We took some feedback to make it more of a natural conversation. It'd be more engaging for the listeners. I never listened to podcasts really before starting my own. So since then I've been exposed to more, and I do agree with that guidance. So, or with that advice rather. So,
definitely trying to be more organic instead of so scripted like we were in the beginning.
So let's just jump right into it. Aspen Roots is a podcast, and we also have a practice where we offer intuitive services. AspenRoots.love is our website. We're not here necessarily to advertise, but rather to show how we moved pretty much a complete 180, as you'll see, from not planning on doing this work to doing this work.
And bringing it to the world.
And it all came from divine guidance.
Yeah.
We were spiritual seekers for many, many, many years before we signed up for the Barbara Brennan School of Healing. And it's a 4-year program. And in year 3, our teacher that year started asking, okay, who wants to do this work professionally once they graduate? And the entire class raised their hands except for Sophia and I. We're like, we kind of just want to win the lottery and go snowmobiling and snowboarding all the time.
Well, that's still in my awareness.
That's
still in my thoughts and hopes. But I went to this school personally for just personal development. I thought that it would help me, grow and learn and work through a lot of my traumas, which is a large part of also what the school is all about. And then along with that, they teach you how to do these energetic practices to move energy and manipulate energy for the better.
And I was there for the same reason, but also again I was moved to be in that school through divine guidance and a strong series of synchronistic events, which I tell in the energy healing episode, which is episode number 9. So anyways, year 3 of school, we were investing in cryptocurrency, and we signed up with a psychic who at this point we'd never met. We'd never had a reading with her before. We found her because somebody in one of our cryptocurrency communities used her, and she was spot on with one of her early predictions that she made. And so we sign up for an hour-long session with her, and we have all these cryptocurrency questions. And she talks about crypto for literally about 3 minutes, and then she just pauses and goes, wait a second. You guys are healers. You're meant to be on a healing path and offering services to others. And she was like so stuck on that. And I was like, well, it's really interesting you say that because we are in school currently for energy healing. And she's like, oh my God, that's all that's coming through right now. And just went off on that. And she was really excited about it. She's like, you guys have to do this professionally. The time is now. They're telling me the time is now. So she's very clear about that. And it's funny when she does her reading, she closes her eyes and nods her head, and it might shake a little bit. And then she pops up and talks about what she sees. And she did that. And she's like, there's a man here and he's one of your mentors and he's saying, go for it. The time is now. And I was
And
like,
she described him by like his characteristic way of dressing. That was really cool too.
yeah, he
and then
wears
go ahead.
tie-dye. He doesn't care about sticking out in a crowd, yada,
Yeah.
yada, yada. And I had a feeling I knew exactly who she was talking about, but this particular, she called him a mentor. This particular mentor was not somebody who's been in our life for a number of years at this point. So I said to her, can you make it any more specific? And she nods her head again and she pops back up. She's like, his name starts with an S. And just for, if there's any psychics listening here, I'm changing the letter. I'm changing the name to keep confidentiality, but getting the point across. So his name starts with an S and like, oh my God, like this guy's name who I thought she was talking about is Sam. It's not really, but anyways, she nailed it. And the thing about who we're calling Sam in this story, Sam was a person who anytime anybody who studied with him was like, okay, I'm ready to go professional and do what you do and hold my own sessions, he would go, oh no, you're not. You're not in your heart yet enough. And he was always telling people no. So in a way, he became like this authority figure who like kept you from your greatest potential and stepping into all you can be. And anyways, that's relevant because it made it so much more mind blowing, right? It's like, here's the guy who is always like, no, you can't do this. You're not ready. Shows up out of nowhere. He's still alive, by the way, but he shows up in our psychic reading. The psychic gets like the first letter of his name right, how he dresses, how he acts. And so this guy who's always said no is showing up to the reading to say, yes, go for it. So that was huge, like blew my socks off. I was like,
we were pretty astounded by that she was so accurate. And that's not even like at all what we were going to see her for. So it was just totally out of the blue.
Yeah, so we didn't really get any cryptocurrency advice, but she gave us tons and tons of advice for offering intuitive services since, that's what she does herself. So, we digested that idea and said, all right, we're going to do this. Let's do this. And started doing the back end work. Like, what are the laws? What do I need to do to set up an LLC? Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And it came time to pick a name for our practice. And so we started probably with 10, 15 names.
Yeah, listed them all and just really were trying to feel into them. But, it was a hard choice.
So we sat with it and slowly narrowed down the list. We weren't in a rush, slowly narrowed it down. And then we got to two names that we liked. And we said, okay, we're going to sleep on it. And tomorrow we'll pick one of these two names and file for the LLC. And so that night I had a dream where I met up with my spirit guides and we had this conversation and they were telling me the name of your practice needs to be Aspen Roots. Aspen Roots was not one of those two names. The Aspen Roots was completely out of left field. I had not considered that at all. And they were telling me why in the dream. Like the aspen tree, all the aspen trees are connected as one underneath the ground. So there's a groundedness, there's a connection. They reach to the heavens, white light. They got eyes on them for like seeing eyes.
It's so synchronistic because we live surrounded by an aspen grove. Like we live in the aspen grove too, is the other part of it. So the fact that, that name was chosen for us is where our home is. And you can't make that up. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. So thankfully all the other Aspen Roots business names were not in this field of intuitive services. So it was available for us to use and trust the dream guidance, trust the guidance.
Yeah,
so
totally.
We went with it. So that's kind of the very initial how we did our 180. So now we're on the path and we're very new. Like we're year 4 students at this point, our final year of school. We're still studying. but we're also starting our practice. We were Reiki masters at this point, so we offered, what we were already qualified to offer, and was told, I forget exactly how it came through, that however Aspen Roots starts will not be how it ends up. So it's going to be a developing thing.
I feel like that's already true. Like we've tried different ways, different things, and it just keeps morphing. So it's already proven to be a true prophecy.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're 2 years in. So the stories you just heard are 2-year-old stories at this point. And if you look at your own life, how much can change in a year, then maybe you'd, understand lots changed already for us. So,
Yeah.
and it's all been guidance based. And that's what we're here to talk about, tell these stories on today's episode. So one of the stories I have is we were on a 3-way phone call, me, Sophia, and one of our dear friends who is also starting her practice. She was a classmate too. And that's what we were talking about. We're talking about all the business aspects. We're throwing around ideas. And I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. While I was on the phone, I was doing this medical medium walking meditation, which if you want like all the details, go to the source to get them. But basically, as you walk barefoot on the planet, you imagine roots, white light roots is what I was doing, going down from each foot into the ground and then breaking off and staying in the ground as I took each step. And he says that when you do that, you can just intend to connect with those roots at any time from any place and help to reground yourself that way. So I have literally connected with those roots while on an airplane, and it sure did make me feel grounded. So that was cool. But we were on that phone call and there was a stellar jay, a bird, stellar jay, just following me everywhere around the yard, just jumping from aspen tree to aspen tree and squawking at me or whatever sound they make. And I finally put my eyes on it. I was like, that's not a bird I see often around here, and decided to look it up. Of course, when you look up the meaning of an animal, it depends on your source, and you got to figure out what resonates. But something really jumped out at me when I did that was that you're going to be an important person in your field. And then a bunch of other positive omens. And I was like, what are the chances that this stellar jay, comes through while we're on the call, talking about creating our practice? And it was just it was like an animal omen for me.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that in episode 1 of our podcast about spirit animals and spirit guides and how different signs can show up for you to help you when you're trying to make a decision or just in support. So if you haven't heard of that before, you can check out that episode.
Yeah, so we started with, what we were qualified for, the Reiki, and then the Barbara Brennan healing science came in next. And then all of a sudden there's all these omens about podcasting. Podcasting just started coming at me from every angle. And I was not a podcast person. I was self-proclaimed. I don't really like listening to podcasts. That's changing, by the way. But
yeah,
that's how it was 2 years ago at that time. And I said to Sophia, I was like, all these podcasting keeps coming at me from every angle. And after I told her that, it was actually the same friend from the last story, texts us out of the blue. I think it was a voice message she left us. And it was like, I had the thought that you guys could do a podcast. And I was like, whoa, okay,
I know,
all right.
right?
I was already kind of sure. Now I'm sure.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking, actually. It was crazy. Just the timing of it,
So, it's awesome to get guidance. Okay, great. Our angels and guides want us to do a podcast, but I have no idea how to do a podcast. I don't know really what people do with podcasts. So it was also a scary thing. I literally went to Google or AI or something. It was like, how do you create a podcast? That's where
True
I started
story.
to where we're at now. So there's been a lot of guidance around the podcast. I can't go through all of it. It's just constantly in our dreams.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest ones though, that I do want to bring up is I had this dream where I was getting on an on-ramp, and I was saying, so dreams don't really make perfect sense. So it's going to be hard to describe, but I was saying salary on, getting on the on-ramp, salary on, salary on. And then it was the podcast once I was on the road, and I was like, oh, okay. So that our road to gaining a salary is creating this podcast. in one way or another. A friend asked today if I know what
Okay.
that's going to look like eventually. I was like, I have no idea, but we're still just following the guidance. So here we are.
Yeah, and I feel like when things maybe got a little slower for us or we weren't really sure, I had a dream that was just us having a successful podcast and it being, really popular and a lot of listeners. So the guidance has come at times where otherwise, our focus is maybe shifted or changed a little bit and we're questioning it. So that keeps us going.
So yeah, that's the podcast. Moving on from the podcast, we've had a ton of other guidance. So we're just going to go through some of them, starting with Sophia's dream here.
Yeah, so I had a dream where our podcast is for the young. So obviously we're on, computers, the internet, and that the older generations really couldn't access us unless they have like a younger person in their life who's able to show them these things. But really our target audience is for the young, people who know how to use their smartphones and are really waking up to this sense of a greater reality and what else is there out there as the energies on the planet shift and just looking for that support. So that was a really cool dream.
And of course, we're speaking in generalities here. So if you're consider yourself in the older generation but very tech savvy, well, then you're an exception.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Good point. Yes, Spirit tries to get the messages through, but they're not always so specific. So the meaning behind it was those who are able to access the internet, essentially.
Yeah. So aside from that, we have a Patreon where we do a weekly group healing, and every week we put out like a 10-15 minute recording of the guidance that we've received over the past week, just to make an example out of ourselves, and inspire other people to do the same in their lives. You can go to some of our episodes 1 through 10 are all different ways that we get guidance. So you can check those out for more details, but they come in all angles: dreams, channeling, meditation, angel boards, pendulums once in a while. Like there's a long list. So some of these things, I don't even remember where they came from. But at a certain point, I was told to start offering more to the weekly group healing tier on our Patreon and to offer channeling. So for a while, as part of the weekly group healing, we were just sitting and channeling, which was new for us at that time. And it went okay. But then I realized like all this stuff we get through dreams and meditation, like that's all form of channeling, and it happens every day. It's literally how we live our lives. There's some interesting stuff that comes through from
It's like following the breadcrumbs.
yeah, I mean, they teach us like when our car needs repairs, house needs repairs, financial advice. I mean, it's pretty wild. So we're constantly getting all this stuff. So we're like, well, we don't need to like sit and make this formal thing each week. Let's just start sharing like how we use our, you can call it channeled guidance in our lives. So that's what the Oracle offerings are. And we just started them, just like I said. And within the first 2 days, I think like 2 days after we recorded our first one, I had this like vivid dream where a white Buddha showed up, and I was told that the white Buddha is protecting our Oracle offerings. And for me, that's huge because it's, again, out of left field for me. I'm aware of the Buddha. I'm aware of white Buddhas. I'm not an expert. I'm not even like almost sort of want to be kind of an expert. Like I just know they exist. So
You Googled that too.
I had to Google like, what's like the significance of a white Buddha? So it gave me confidence. And then Sophia's dad came through and talked about that.
Yeah. So my dad is, he's 81. He's from the older generation, definitely kind of, he doesn't know how to use a computer or anything like that. Doesn't really understand what we do. And he came through in a dream where it was really important that he keep away the dark astral beings that were going to try to interfere with any of the messages coming through.
Or like lower astral beings.
Yeah, lower astral beings. So he was protecting the oracles and really believed in the messages coming through and that those messages needed to come to a greater audience. So I mean, that's huge, considering, who my dad is. And I felt really touched by it, that it was so important to his soul. Like, doesn't matter who he is in this world, but his soul recognizes the work we're doing and its importance.
Yeah, he called him important. So right off the bat, we got all this, stuff coming in from other angles, and it really gave us confidence in the beginning, but the feedback has been great as well. So that's something we really enjoy doing every week. So just kind of going to move through the rest fast. We do the weekly group healings. I've had dreams where people are coming up our driveway to join the weekly group healings. There's been several animal communication dreams. That's
Yes.
right now.
Please come join us.
Yeah, right now that's Sophia's territory.
Yeah.
But she had one where I'm stepping into it, so
Yeah.
that'll be something to look forward to.
Yeah, I want to pause there too, because my guides also said the importance of animal communication in this time, especially, and that's a gift that they want me to bring forward. So, so many of us have animals and they can't speak the words, but they're always energetically talking to us. So, if we can start to develop that language, or at least get into what they're thinking and how their life is, what they think is important, what they're going through, that'll help us understand them and just provide a better relationship and a better life for both us and them.
I thought of a story that probably could have told earlier in the episode, but I'll jump in now with it. And again, I'm going to remind you, this story is 2 years old, and it was the first time we gave a private energy healing session or energy work session. Some people get hung up on the word healing, but including myself. So the first time that I ever gave a paid session, and of course through school we did hundreds of these, but the first time I ever did a paid session, I got the lyrics in my head. No one ever would have thought it would happen, from standing on corners to getting paid for rapping. It's a Dirty Heads lyric, but it's like, no one ever would have thought it would happen, from probably saying I'll never do this professionally to getting paid to do this professionally. So to have that lyric drop in during my first session was, again, I just know I'm supported by my guides and the divine realm. So that was huge at the time. And again, that was a 2-year-old story. So everything's come a long way since then. But aside from that, Sophia offers psychic readings, and she's got some stories there, and a little bit about mediumship. And you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so my guides have been pretty insistent. I've been working at the hospital for a long time, and in multiple dreams, I would tell them, I've got these shifts at the hospital, and they're like, no, Sophia, you are to bring your psychic gifts to the world. That's what's important. And they've shown up as my ancestors. I believe that I was once a whale. I've had many synchronicities, dreams about it. And in one dream in particular, the whale people showed up and said, you are to use your psychic gifts to help others, and your mission is very important. You are to bring these gifts to the world. So it's shown up a lot in my dreams that is the path, and that's really my soul's longing. But it's good to have these dreams and guidance as reminders.
Mm-hmm.
And on the same page, so the mediumship is coming soon. I was told one day I'll be a medium, and that gift is developing.
And how did that come through? Because that was a dream where you literally, saw that written, right? If I'm going off of memory.
I don't remember if I saw it written, or I think what happened, I do remember. So what happened was I felt a presence in the room, and I could see it was a boy, a younger boy, and he was just moving about the room. And
was this while you were asleep?
No, this is when I was awake.
But laying in bed?
But laying in bed.
Okay.
And so then I heard my guides. I may have lightly drifted off later that I would one day be a medium. So that I was starting to develop those gifts and be able to be aware of presence in the astral while I'm awake.
I am positive, however it came through, it said literally word for word, mediumship coming soon.
Well, you have a better memory than me.
Yeah.
So without me checking my notes, I'll believe that. Brandon has like the best memory.
It's gotten to the point where I really remember the point, not always exactly how it comes through, but I remember that being word for word. Something we talked about on the oracles as well. And then you had a dream recently about channeling, right?
So yeah, recently I was channeling for a little while, and then just, as Brandon had said, and then kind of put it aside. And so I had this dream where I was channeling live for my coworkers at the hospital at the Christmas party. And that would be a really huge deal for me. Right now I just, go into our healing room and channel for myself. And I channel when we do our healings for our clients, and whatever, like Brandon was saying, like everything is channeling. We are channels. The information is just coming through us.
Same with the energy and the energy healing. Exactly.
Yeah. So they were basically showing me and reminding me that this is something that is also in my path that I've kind of been putting aside. So I've reignited that practice of practicing channeling for myself and channeling for our clients.
Right on. So there you have it. Those are some of the heavy hitting stories about how everything came to be at the beginning, and some of the ones that are indicative of what might be coming. And there's been many, many more in between, especially around the podcast. So, yeah, I guess at this point we'll jump into our soulful send off. I already know what I want to say, that, I kind of, to get my point across, like to just call myself Joe Schmo. I'm just Joe Schmo who has been exploring spiritual stuff for decades at this point. And, I'll let you speak for yourself, Sophia, but this is like a story of how just someone who sees themselves as just Joe Schmo has moved into a place of offering intuitive services for others. And it wasn't out of ego or will or lifelong held dream necessarily. It was just following the guidance, which is kind of most of what I've always done. And if you resonate with that, and, maybe you don't want to be a healer or something, maybe you want to be, open a animal rescue or something like that, then, just look for the guidance, follow the guidance, and anything's possible.
Yeah. Follow your path, right? I think life evolves, and, the path, it appears beneath our feet. Like if you would have told me 20 years ago that I'd be doing this work, I would have said, no way, you must have the wrong person. So for me, a lot has changed, and these, abilities can develop stronger and stronger at different stages of life. And so it's just about trusting that what your soul wants to do, you can really feel that inside of you, and that may evolve throughout time. So whatever your natural loves are in life, one of mine is animals, and just helping people and helping animals. See how it presents for you. Where can you help? What makes you feel good? And if you're doing something that makes you feel good, then you're definitely on the right path.
Yeah, so I'll end this with one more story that it really comes down to really seeing yourself as the truth of who you are. And my guides told me that seeing myself as just Joe Schmo, actually in the dream is like this snowboard punk, skater punk, my last life, is weighing heavily on me, is really weighing heavily on me. And they switched out that outfit and put on like this pure white outfit. And basically the message was to see yourself in a different light, because your old perceptions of yourself are weighing yourself down. So if you have any self-perceived notions that are weighing you down and keeping you from being the best version of yourself, might be something you want to take a look at, the way I've had to. And again, I only did that from guidance. So there's our stories of our divine guidance and how Aspen Roots came to be. And appreciate you joining us on this episode. We have started bringing guests on, if you haven't realized. And I welcome any one of you to reach out if you have a story to tell. We'd love to have you on here.
Yeah, please reach out. And I also want to say too, ask for guidance. That's how we've been getting guidance. Just ask, ask out loud, have an intention that your path be revealed to you, or answers to your question, or just wanting support or feeling support. Those prayers will be answered in one way or another. So, but ask for help.
Truth. Alrighty, bye.
Bye.
Aspen Roots.
Visit us at aspenroots.love.